This is day one of part 2 of this trip. It's been a long time since I've seen this guy. It sat in a garage for 2 years, but it has been rescued. I also cut my finger, yes. I didn't have a Band-Aid, so I used paper towel and gaffer tape. Yeah, I'm parked right in front of a touristic place, which actually we've been invited to go check out. So in 15 minutes, I'm supposed to go inside this building that everyone's loitering around, and apparently I have just stuff set up for me.
So I will first do a guided round.
Okay.
And then we're going to go up to the seal pool, and I'm going to leave it there for 15 minutes. Then we're going to do the training, 12:30.
Okay.
And then you will come in with me with the seals.
We're going to go into the seals?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Cool.
So here at Polaria, our main goal is to give out some knowledge to the people about everything that is going on, especially in the Arctic area.
Yeah.
So if you look at this one, we have the temperature from 1971 to 2000. And you will see that it's been an increase that is with the speed of 2. So right now it's going actually with the speed of 4. So it stopped at 2000 and now it's even more. So it's going 4 times as fast.
So this is like 25 years out of date now, so it's even past this?
Yeah,
okay.
So now it's going 4 times as fast as it did in this time period.
Do you think it would be like touching the floor by now?
We are not sure, but right now if you look at the colors, we actually had to add 1 extra color.
Yeah.
Because it was not dark enough to symbolize how warm it is right now in the Arctic area. So this is the main thing that is going on. So we have a lot of change in the temperatures, and that is causing a lot of problems for the rest of the animals that live there. So we here at Polaria, we have a neighbor right on this side here. That's called Tromsø, and they do a lot of research in the Arctic area. So we're trying to show that to the people and also explain it to the people. Because the Arctic area is quite important for the rest of the world, especially, for example, with the whales. They're bringing nutrition back and forth over the seas. So it's really important that the northern part of the world is protected, so we have the nutrition going back and forth. So, for example, here with the reindeers at Svalbard, it's another species than we do have here in Tromsø. I don't know if you've seen one.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So the reindeers at Svalbard and reindeers here, they're actually facing the same problems, and it's with the food.
Okay.
So with the temperatures going up and down, we don't get the snow that we do actually have in the wintertime. So we get this ice layer. And it's causing a lot of problems because they're not able to dig through the ice, but they're able to dig through the snow. So they're not able to feed. So that's causing a lot of problems for the animals, and especially for the Svalbard reindeers. They're actually going down to the ocean to eat seaweed. So we see a lot of change with these guys. So I was working at Tromsø Arctic Reindeer. So I was working with the reindeers this summer, and they actually have to feed reindeers now. So the Sami people, they have the reindeers as animals. They herd them and everything, and they actually have to bring them down from the mountain to feed them during the wintertime.
Interesting, okay.
Because there's not enough food up in the mountains anymore. And it's because of these changes of temperatures. So we also have the Arctic fox. You've probably heard about it.
Yes.
Yeah, down in this cave. So a lot of animals like these guys, they do actually change the color of the fur with the seasons. And people think that it might be with the temperatures, but it's actually with the sun. So they have, like us, they have a reception in the forehead that can actually catch the light. So they will read the light, and then it will change the color of the fur with the light changes. So that's causing a lot of problems now, because, for example, this winter we didn't have a lot of snow. So then these guys will be quite visible. And the same for many examples of birds. And then they will be easily preyed on, or it will be hard for them to hunt, like for the foxes.
Who predates on the foxes?
Eagles, for example, can actually hunt these guys. But these guys, they need the color change of the fur to protect them against predators, but also to be able to hunt. So a lot of animals can now see them pretty easily because they're white and the ground is dark.
And in the summer they are like brown? Like
more grayish or brown.
Oh, gray, okay.
And I don't know if you've been walking around in the city.
I have. I've been here a few times, but not here.
So you've probably seen some of these
So these I'm more familiar with.
This is the black-legged kittiwake. And these guys, do you think is a lot of them here?
I feel like I've seen quite a few. Okay, like what was the name of it?
Black-legged kittiwake in English, and in
when I look at it,
Christian.
I just think of, well, it looks like a small seagull. So I was always just like call them seagulls, but they're not, right?
They're actually seagulls.
It's a species of seagull. Okay.
If you look at the legs, they're black.
Okay, so it's just a species of seagull.
And these on the top, we have a smaller one as well.
Because that's a big one.
But they don't have this black one.
Okay.
But have you seen a lot of these birds in the city? Which says a lot of them.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I've seen that. I haven't seen that many. Well, there's like a whole nest thing you have next to here. That was kind of cool to see.
Yeah. So that's causing a lot of problems now because we use the seabirds to just see how the ecosystem is doing.
Yeah.
So these birds is a nice indicator to see how the oceans are actually doing right now. And because of the decline, it's not that good.
Is their main food source just like small fish or something? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and krill.
Yeah.
And right now, people are like seeing them a lot in the city, especially here.
Yeah.
A lot of people living here think it's a lot, but it's not. And they are all like thinking that maybe they're eating the human food and that's why they're coming in, but they're actually not. They're still out fishing.
Oh.
So the reason they're here, we're not quite sure. Some have theories that the eagles are going into the bird mountains where they are supposed to be, and that's why they are going to the humans because it's less predators here.
Yeah.
And some think that it might be because of the food source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do eagles actually eat them, or they're just like territorial and they like?
They eat them.
They do.
Yeah,
okay.
they hunt them. Yeah. But also it can be an indicator that it's a bit less fish out in the oceans because we have the seagulls and they hunt fish and birds.
Yeah.
And it can be easier for them to hunt fish if it's a lot of fish.
Because I always just assumed seagulls were very they came to eat human food and stuff like that. But
they're actually not for the black-legged.
Oh, not for the black-legged.
No, but you can find the other ones. They can eat human food.
Those are the ones when you're like having ice cream and like
you need to be careful.
Then they're gonna take it. Okay.
But it's really important that we keep the populations, and it's a really nice indicator to see how the ecosystems are doing.
Okay.
And right now, it's not a good sign.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And even though they are trying to do things like here in Tromsø, you have this art where they have these nesting places, and still you will see that it's still declining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not quite sure what to do. And you also have the bird flu. So they had a theory last year because it was a quite heavy decline of the species. They had a theory that the bird flu was going in the population and giving deaths. But the case was actually that these guys were caught in the nets and then they flew back in on land and then they actually died from drowning. So the lungs were filled with seawater from fishermen's nets. Yeah.
Oh, so like swallowed the nets and it
so when they were diving in to fish, they got caught in the fish net and then they swallowed a lot of water and then they were able to come back into shore and then they died from drowning. But they found some individual that had the bird flu, so they thought first that it was the bird flu.
But it's not that. It's
but now
fishing,
they've done some more research on it, and they figured out that quite few individuals actually had the bird flu and died. Most of them had salt water in the lungs, as well as the ones with the bird flu.
Okay. So was there still a lot of bird flu going around, or it was mostly stuff like this?
It was mostly the nets that caused the drowning.
Yeah. Okay.
So that says a lot about the impacts that we humans actually do have with the animals. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So even though we might not see the impact here, that the cause of that is not here, it can be out in the ocean where people are out fishing with big nets. Yeah. So I guess you heard about the polar bear.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So the case now is that the bears actually getting smaller.
The bears are smaller?
Yeah,
again,
quite a lot
for
smaller.
Diet, like not being able to,
And also, a lot of people think that these guys need the ice.
Yeah.
I bet you think so too.
I thought that was like their habitat, right? Like they just.
Do you have any theory about why they need the ice?
To be honest, no, I don't have it.
So they do not actually need the ice.
Yeah.
But they need the seals that need the ice.
Okay.
So they hunt on the seals, and the seals they give birth on the ice.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So they're actually seeing
grounds.
that the polar bears have eaten the Svalbard reindeer.
Yeah.
Do you think they will be able to survive eating them?
Like my head says yes, but I'm guessing you're gonna say no. It's not.
I'm gonna say no. Yeah, exactly. So there actually been a case that they have found polar bears that died of starvation, but with reindeers in the stomach.
It just doesn't have the right nutrition for them.
Yeah. So they're missing some fat storage.
Ah, seals are a lot of fat.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Because reindeers they eat plants.
Yeah.
And the seals they eat fish.
Yeah.
So that's the case with the polar bears, that they actually do need the ice, even though they have other prey. They
Yeah.
will still need to have the ice to be able to hunt the seals.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to keep the ice.
Yeah. Are the seal populations struggling too with like fish as well?
So
that being their diet?
we have bearded
to go?
seals
Yeah.
and harbor seals, and the bearded seals they live in Svalbard and further north.
Yeah.
And these guys right now is in a healthy population, but with the ice disappearing, we are not sure. For example, this year is actually a decline with 80% of birds.
Yeah.
with these guys. So they're not giving birth as much as they did earlier, and they're not sure why.
Okay.
So probably with the population, if this will be the thing that we go systematically on, then we will have a crazy decline in seal population.
Okay.
Yeah. But right now, it seems to be healthy.
Yeah.
But this year, it's insane, and they're trying to figure out why.
Yeah. Was there a decline in like sea ice as well? Like that's the breeding grounds?
That's what they're trying to figure out. But it might be the case with the sea ice. But I've also seen that there's two different species of cods in the Northern Sea.
Yeah.
We have the common cod and we have the polar cod. So the polar cod, they're commonly in Svalbard, and the seals do hunt these guys. But right now, with the temperatures increasing, we have actually found a normal cod, and they're eating all the polar cods.
Okay.
So the case can also be actually that the seals do not hunt the fish they're supposed to hunt anymore.
Yeah.
So it would be less food, and then they abort.
Okay.
Yeah. So with this wall, we're trying to show people. I can just walk by, and then you will see. So you see the ice is disappearing. So here we're trying to show people that if you just ignore the problem and you don't try to be a part of the solution, then it will be a part of destroying the ice.
Yeah.
But if you actually sit down here, you can do some activities on this board.
Okay.
And then you can make your own ice flakes that will go on the wall. So we're trying to show people that it's really important to be honest with yourself and answer honestly, and then you can see how much impact you can actually have with helping the sea ice to stay.
Okay. Let's see. Own ice flow. Tap an icon. How can you contribute? Ooh, move smart. We're on a bike tour.
And then you can just drag it up to the level you think you're at now.
Hitchhiking and biking, I feel it's pretty high. And you just go through each one and you...
Yeah, and then you just submit it on the screen. It will take some time, and then it will come up here.
Okay. I would use bulk. Okay. Heat your own. Solar panels, I have a solar panel trailer. I'm doing good, but not that good. Okay, what's this? So what's this one? And then you buy raw materials. I buy a lot of stuff. I'm not doing very good. And I break a lot of stuff. Let's do this one. Share this carry. Share a lawnmower. Borrow a tent from a friend. I share a lot of stuff with Sarah. I don't think I'm doing much for speaking up on this topic, so we're not going to go on that. I think I don't use much water, to be honest, because I don't shower. I guess you guys can't really hear that well, but yeah, I don't shower, so that's probably okay. Power of the fork. I eat a lot of meat. Okay, that's an interesting shape. Yes.
And then it will take some time, and then you will see...
Oh, it'll actually come on the board?
Yeah,
that's cool.
You will see a purple ice flake. It takes some time.
Was this added recently? This whole interactive ice flow?
Yeah, so I started here in June.
Yeah.
So it came right before I started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we're still expanding.
Yeah. Wait, you just started in June?
Yeah.
Like this month?
No, the last one.
Oh, last
yeah.
Okay.
So
a year ago.
A year ago,
okay.
yeah.
As I was going to say, if you just started in June, like, your knowledge...
I'm studying biology. So,
okay, yeah, this is very much in your wheelhouse. Okay, yeah. There's my cube. This is my iceberg. There are many like it, but this one's mine.
This is just to show people that you can actually have an impact. Yeah. And a lot of people sometimes just walk past and they will destroy all the ice flakes, and then you need to sit down and make new ones, and then you will eventually have a wall.
So these get made naturally. It's not just these, right? Like the wall has.
Yeah. So the wall we could use some.
The darker ones are the user ones. Yeah.
And then it will be wide as you see.
Yeah.
As it goes down.
Okay.
But it's also because if people do not sit down and do it, and all of a sudden you might just have a completely blank wall. Yeah.
So you studied like marine biology in
So right now I'm still in a bachelor degree.
Okay.
So here in Norway you just study biology in general for 3 years, and then you go on a master degree. Okay. And then you can choose which direction you want.
In school your focus isn't marine biology yet because it has to be more general. It's just biology.
But I'm studying here at URT.
Which is
Arctic marine. Yeah. So it's more focused on that.
Have you had the opportunity to do any like field research?
A lot.
Have you? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we do lab work or field work in every subject that we have.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's something that is very special for UIT.
Oh, that's really cool because I don't know, but I learn a lot better like going out and doing something than just reading from a book. So,
and also we have really passionate professors.
Yeah.
So they are like saying hi, using your name when you walk down the halls.
Cool.
So they're really like passionate both about what they're doing and also about with the students.
Is it a smaller school as well as far as student base?
12,000 approximately.
This is just pretty for Tromsø,
so
like
quite big. Yeah. So this is a snow crab.
Yeah.
And it's actually an invasive species here in Norway.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it looks a bit like the red king crab, which is also an invasive species here. But the difference between these two is that this one walked over here by itself, and the red king crab, there was a fisherman that thought money, and then they just released it into the Norwegian oceans, and that caused a lot of problems.
Because they like eat the food source of other.
Exactly, they eat everything. So if you have the king crab invasion, then you will just have a full herd of king crabs walking all along the shore. And after that, it will be completely dead. There will be nothing left.
And since they're invasive, do they not have many predators here because they didn't evolve eating the specific type of crab, or they still get?
So these guys, even though they are invasive species, we still do have some predators on them. But for the red king crabs that were brought here by humans, they do not.
Oh, okay.
So the only predators they actually have is us and also each other.
Yeah.
And we have a huge debate going on here in Norway whether or not to keep the red king crab.
Yeah.
So the fishermen that do fish for the red king crab, they want them, of course, because they earn a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then the other fishermen that fish for cod, for example, they do not want them.
Okay.
So it's still restricted to how much you can actually take out.
I was about to ask him, like, is it just open season on fishing this crab?
Unfortunately
because it's
not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would have thought that they want the industry.
And that's why it's such a huge debate here in Norway.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. The debate makes sense. Yeah.
And also, like biologists, we are like, we need to stop them, we need to fish them out.
Yeah.
And then you have the government that are listening to the other fishermen, earning a lot of money, looking at the budget, and they're like, no, we need to keep them. So that's why it's so differentiated. And also right now this is closed off because of the expansion, but this is actually plant plankton that lives in the sea.
Okay.
Yeah. So these guys are really important. I guess you heard about the rainforest, and we need to keep that safe because of the oxygen production and everything. Then a little fun fact is that the ocean actually produces 3/4 of all our oxygen. But we're not talking about the ocean. We're just talking about rainforest.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we should not talk about the rainforest, but we should talk about both.
Yeah.
So the plant plankton actually producing 50% of all our oxygens that we are breathing in. And these guys live in the ocean.
Yeah.
And a lot of these species, they live in the Arctic area, so they're actually in need of the ice to come.
Yeah.
Because we have different species that will bloom at different seasons. And when the ice disappears, some of them might bloom at other times, and that might affect the entire system. Yeah. So these guys are not just important for our oxygen, but it's also quite important for other animals that do eat them. For example, the whales. Yeah. Yeah.
Like this like phytoplankton, or what is it that they?
Plant plankton. Yeah. So it's really important to talk about them, and unfortunately we are not. I think we talk too little about it. We talk more about what is going on the earth that we can walk on and see. Yeah. And it's just 1/4 of all of oxygen that comes from that.
And this is kind of like the ground floor of the whole like food chain kind of thing. So if this doesn't work, then it goes cascades up the whole.
Yeah. And these things, scientists are actually working on this right now because we don't know what will happen with the ice disappearing and what will happen with the species. Maybe some will come in, maybe some will die out. Yeah. And the effects of that we don't know. Yeah. So they're actually working on that now. So we're also trying to show that to people, like this is the questions that we're working on now, trying to figure out. And once a year we will get some new knowledge from Tromsø next door, and I think every third year we will change up the exhibition with completely new science. So we will always be updated. Yeah. So we're trying to show people this and also try to lift up things that we're not talking a lot about these days.
Yeah.
So, have you heard about the Greenland shark?
I have, yeah. Isn't it one of the oldest like living species?
Yeah, it can get up to 500 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, this is actually one species that we have here in Norway.
I didn't know. Yeah, in my head it's like Greenland, but I guess it's just across the Atlantic. Yeah.
So in Norwegian we call them påkjerring.
Yeah.
So we don't call them anything with Greenland at all. But how many species do we think we have of sharks here in Norway?
I have no idea.
Guess.
7.
9.
Okay, I was actually all right.
So we actually do have 9. None of them are dangerous for us humans.
Yeah.
But for example, the Greenland shark, it can actually take down a moose.
Like if they're like swimming?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So they have seen that they're taking down mooses.
Yeah.
But we do not know a lot about these guys.
But have they ever attacked a human?
No.
That's interesting that they'd go for a moose, but they
Yeah,
wouldn't
they're
see a
quite
human.
slow.
Okay.
So they're moving quite slow. For example, when they hunt seal, they wait for the seal to fall asleep.
Oh.
And then they will go slowly inwards. And if the seal wakes up, they will just stop. And the seal falls back to sleep, and then they will attack.
So they're not like one of the shark attacks, where they like do
so if the seal swims off, and it's gone.
I'm a pretty slow swimmer. I'm like, I think they could,
Maybe
if they wanted to.
So these guys are pretty cool. We don't know a lot about them, but they actually do have a parasite on their eyes, and that's how we estimate their age.
Oh.
Because when they're around 150 years, they will get this parasite, and they will go blind.
Yeah.
As older they get. And also when they're around 150, they're actually ready to mate.
It takes them that long to be...
Yeah, and that's why it's quite a vulnerable species.
Yeah.
They did hunt them earlier.
Yeah.
And we are not sure how many one can produce.
Yeah.
They only found one individual that had 3 babies.
Yeah.
And that's all we know.
Because it's just a very low population in general everywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they live quite deep, so it's quite hard to do some research on them. Yeah. And they also... You're not allowed to hunt them. Yeah. So it's quite hard to do some research on them.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah. But they are really interesting animals, and I hope we can learn a lot. They have seen how the oceans have changed by looking at these individuals. So they can actually do some research on, for example, the parasite in the eye and figure out how the environment was 100 years ago.
Do you know how they age them? Like, so 150 they get the parasite, but how do they know, like, to the 500? Is that when they find a dead one they can do it?
So they use the parasite. So
it just develops more and more?
Yeah, if the shark is completely blind because of the parasite, then they know, okay, it's quite old.
Okay.
So they look at how blind it is with the parasite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite cool.
Yeah, it is.
And as I mentioned, the whales, they're quite important.
Yes.
For the rest of the world, not just here. So here in Norway, in Tromsø, we only have the whales during the winter time up here in Tromsø. So if you want to see whales now, you have to go to Lofoten.
Yep.
Yeah, a bit further south. So these guys, they come up here to feed on herring during the winter time. And right now, we'll probably just be able to see them for maybe 2 to 3 more years, and then you won't be able to see them in Tromsø at all.
This is the season, they won't come this far north?
So the thing is that earlier you didn't even see them here in Tromsø, even in winter time. Because of the warmer temperatures in the oceans, the fish are moving even further north.
Further north, yeah.
So the whales follow.
Yeah.
So they think that in around 2 to 3 years, the whales will have gone too far north to be able to see them from Tromsø because they're following the fish.
I see, okay.
And the questions that we are working on right now is what will happen when the fish move too far north.
Yeah.
Because we're not sure. Because these guys, they're actually traveling from South Africa.
Wow.
So the whales are coming up from South Africa to feed, and then they'll go down again.
Every year. That's quite
Every
the commute,
year. Yeah. So they bring a lot of nutrition by pooping along the way.
Oh.
So it's quite important that these guys actually come up here, and then they will bring the nutrition back down to the south.
Yeah.
So what will happen when the whales might not be able to follow the fish anymore because it will be too far for them to travel? Or maybe they will just stay here in the north, just be around the fish.
Yeah.
We don't know, and we don't know what will happen down in the south when that happens.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So it's a lot of questions that we are not sure about.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll never get the answer before we are there, unfortunately. But hopefully things will change. We see that all the species are moving towards the poles, where it's a bit colder. But the question is, where do the northern or the polar species go?
Yeah.
because they are not able to move.
Go further. Yeah. What's your most common types of whales in this region?
Humpback whales.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of them. Sperm whales.
Yeah.
Fin whales and orcas, but that's a dolphin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're a dolphin.
Yeah, it's the biggest dolphin.
Yeah, I'm from Vancouver Island in Canada, and we have a lot of whales there too. So I don't know, I grew up around them, but I still don't know very much about it.
No.
But, yeah.
No, so the fin whale is the second largest whale.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's quite cool. And then you have the sperm whale.
Yeah.
They live in huge family groups, and they're really cute, to be honest. And then you have the humpback whales. They do actually live alone, but they can gain up in groups when it's feeding time.
Interesting.
So then they will cooperate to be able
and are they like social when they cooperate, or are they just kind of
and you can
in their best
hear
interest?
them sing, and they're actually blowing bubbles in circles to press the fish upwards.
Oh, cool.
So they are working together. So they have someone underneath pressing them up, and then they have someone swinging around blowing bubbles to make sure that they stay in this meatball, as they call it. Yeah, and then they will go in and feed.
Yeah, whales and like orcas, how they how they find their food, to me is just quite interesting because they're quite smart with it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen orcas
they really are.
Like create a wake to knock a seal off an iceberg and then
So actually here, because it's so much herring in the winter time, you can actually see that the orcas and the whales are actually cooperating. But normally the whales will go away from the orcas, or the orcas will try to attack the whales.
Oh really?
Yeah, because the orcas can actually feed on the whales.
Do they?
Yeah, when they are babies, they will go in and feed them. So the whales, they will just instinctively try to...
But since there's enough herring, they're like...
They can actually cooperate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, to catch them. So you can often see that they're following each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
During the winter time. Yeah. So I went on a whale safari this winter. So you could see both the sperm whales, the humpback whales, and the orcas all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, feeding. So it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know orcas would be kind of like the asshole cousin to whales if the food situation is not as good as it is.
So right now you can see the porpoises, which is the second smallest species of whales.
Yeah.
You will find them here all year long. And you can also have 2 dolphin species as well. You can see them quite commonly here in Tromsø. So this is the sound tunnel. This is something that is completely new in the research world. Yeah. So you might have heard about light pollution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is sound pollution.
Oh.
Yeah. So the same things that are going on with the light is actually going on also in the ocean with the sound.
Yeah.
So for example, you can go and listen to it afterwards. But for example, the cod, they make a drum sound.
Yeah.
And this can actually be overheard by the engines of boats, for example.
Yeah.
So then the cods won't be able to mate.
Oh, okay.
So it's causing a lot of problems, not just for the whales using the echo sound to find things, but it can also cause a lot of problems, for example, for seals that sing.
Yeah.
So they sing to interact with each other and find a mate.
Yeah.
And if they are not able to hear each other, then they won't be able to mate.
Yeah.
So it's causing a lot of problems for a lot of populations, and that's also why it's so important to think about it. If you're going on a whale safari, go with a boat that shuts off the engine or do electricity and not using the engine at all. So it makes less sound. So this is quite new because earlier we didn't use motorized boats.
Yeah.
And also
just adding
we
a battery.
didn't have so much of the oil rigs that is going on right now. But right now those things are making a lot of sounds.
So do the oil rigs contribute a lot of the sound pollution? I don't know how loud they are because I assume when they're like drilling and stuff that would be a very
right now, you will hear the sound of the oil rig. So the thing here is that you have these headphones that you can listen to the animals, and then all of a sudden some human sounds will be turned on. Yeah. And then you can try to listen if you can actually hear the animals.
Is there like example of like a sonar ping in there? Because I've heard that's like terrifyingly loud underwater.
Yeah.
If you get like a submarine. Yeah.
That was a human sound.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really hard to hear the animals.
Yeah.
When the human sound is on.
Yeah.
And that's why we're trying to show people here how important it is to try not to make too much sound out in the ocean.
Okay.
Because it will really impact the animals, not only with feeding, but also with mating. Yeah. So these are the big fish you will find here in Tromsø. Every animal we have here are found here in Tromsø. So the thing is that we want to give people a face of the animals, because if people can see the animals, then they will actually care for the animals. So our goal is not to breed the animals, our goal is not to keep a lot of animals, our goal is to spread knowledge and give it a face so people want to take care of it out in nature. So these guys, they might seem a bit big, but they're all quite small. For example, the wolffishes down here, they can actually reach a size of 1.5 meters. They weigh around 60 kilos, and right now they weigh between 20 to 30 kilos.
Okay.
So they're quite small.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard about the halibut.
Okay, that's yeah, we have halibut where I'm from,
Yeah.
but that's what they look like on the, like they're camouflaged to the floor?
Yeah. So this is a female.
Yeah.
And she can actually reach a size of 400 kilos. Yeah, so she's quite small. Now she weighs around 25.
Okay.
So she will be twice as big as me.
Yeah.
So she could get quite long.
Like, how old do they have to be to get that size? I assume that'd take a while.
I'm not sure, because the fish have the capability to grow with the environment.
Okay.
So none of these fishes will be able to be any bigger.
Based off the size of their environment.
Yeah. But we're going to move these guys when we get the new seal pool, because we're expanding. We're going to get new seal pools.
Yeah.
So then the seals will go up there, and then we're going to move these guys into the old seal pool. And then they'll probably start to grow again.
Yeah.
So they have the capability to grow with the environment and also change the colors.
Yeah.
So that if it's quite light, then they will have a lighter color. If it's quite dark, then we'll have a darker color.
What's this guy like in the kind of tunnely thing, just like lurking?
It's a wolffish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's actually blind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's living the life. So we have taught these fishes to be hand-fed.
Yeah.
So whenever we want to feed them, we just splash in the water and they will see our face. Because they actually
and they recognize?
Yeah,
okay.
They recognize faces, and then they will come up to us, and then we will just drop food into the mouths.
Yeah.
And also, really cool about the fishes, they do actually feel emotions. So they're quite like us. They have different relationships to one another.
Yeah.
And they also do actually have emotions. So they can feel sorrow, for example. And this is something that the industry do not want us to know, because if we know about this, then we will have even stricter rules for how the animals are going to live. For example, in breeding facilities. So they don't really want us to know these things, because then they will lose money.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really cool, for example, you see the wolffishes on the rock there.
Yeah.
They can lie right next to each other because they're friends.
Yeah.
But if another one passes by, then they will chase them off.
Interesting.
So you will see that they're lying differently in the tank, and it's just because...
That's the different social groups.
Yeah, some are friends, some are not.
Just like high school.
So it's really cool. And you can also see the one coming out there, a bit spotted, the wolffish. And then you also have the spotted ones here. Do you see any difference between those two, besides their size?
You
can walk over here maybe.
Because it's hard to see this one.
This one?
This one.
And that's those ones on the rocks. Is there any differentiations in the color?
Because this one, like the spots are much more defined. This is much more like, or it seems darker, and it's all like kind of smudged together.
Yeah. So this one is actually from a breeding facility.
Yeah.
And those on the rock, they are from nature.
Oh, so that creates that difference?
Yeah. So you can quite commonly see quite big, huge differences between the fishes. And also with this one, you can't see it now, but when you get his face up close, you'll see that he has kind of a deformed face.
Yeah.
So the breeding facilities do actually impact the fish quite a lot compared to how they're supposed to be. And I want to show you one other species afterwards, and then I'm going to ask you what kind of species you think it is, because it's quite hard to see.
Okay.
So now we're going to head through the seal tunnel.
Okay. Oh, seal tunnel. Let's see if the network works, because water is a bad cellular. Oh my god, that's cool. Ooh.
So here you can see the difference. This is common.
I think it worked.
Young ones. And then we have some young ones of the polypod in this one.
Yeah.
And they're quite different. So these guys, they're adapted to be in cracks in the ice.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why they're so slim compared to the normal cod, common cod. And these guys were supposed to be at Svalbard, but right now my boss went there on a field trip, and he only found 2. And normally you would just get the polar cod, but they only got 2, and the rest was common cod.
Oh.
Just because of the temperature changes.
I see. Okay. So they're just further north, like, or
we are not
because
sure
these ones
what is
hang out with
going
the
on
ice, right?
now.
Yeah.
It's an exception this year. It's not supposed to be like that.
Okay.
So afterwards, if you want to, you can actually sit your head up, and then you will see the fish 365 degrees. So these fish, they're actually caught in fresh water. So it's three-spiked fish. So they were found in fresh water.
Yeah.
And do you think they live in salt water or fresh water right now?
They're found in fresh water.
Yeah.
When they're like spawn, like when they're born, kind of thing.
No, they weren't the size they are now.
But you found them in fresh water. I assume you keep them in fresh water, or no?
No, seawater. So these guys is a species that can actually live in both seawater and fresh water.
Oh.
Like for example the bull shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, they don't even prefer one over the other, or do they?
No.
Okay.
So we have a lake up here in the on the island.
Yeah.
So these guys were caught there, and then we just put them in the salt water, and
they're just fine with that?
Yeah.
That's a hardy
they've been
species.
here for several years.
Huh.
So some species actually have.
Can bull shark even like? I thought it's like a temporary thing. They swim upriver for spawning or something,
Yeah, for example,
and then they go
salmon,
back. Yeah.
And so for the salmon, they do actually swim up in the rivers to spawn.
Yeah.
And then they will stay in the rivers.
Yeah.
Until they're of a certain size,
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 years, and then they will go out in the sea.
Yeah.
And then they will live the rest of their lives in the sea, and then they will go up to spawn again.
Yeah.
And that's it. For
But
a
these
lot of
guys are
species.
just.
But
They
these
don't
guys
care.
can
They
just
just
survive
one or the
both.
other.
Yeah. So this is in the shore. So these are species that we find in the shore here in Tromsø. And I really want to talk about these guys.
The urchins.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's 2 different species.
Oh.
And I want to have you to guess. Do this one belong to Tromsø or do this one?
Okay. Let's say that one belongs to Tromsø.
Exactly.
Nice.
But have you seen this one?
No, I have not.
Have you seen this one?
No, but I haven't gone in the water here, so.
Okay, if you walk along the harbor,
Yeah.
you will
You'll
just
see a
this
bunch
one.
of those.
Not
Yeah.
this one. So this is actually an invasive species from the south of Norway.
Yeah.
In Norwegian we call them drøbaks,
Yeah.
sea urchins, but in English it's called green. And this one is the red one.
Yeah.
So these guys, because of warmer water, for example, last year in the summertime we had 20 degrees in the ocean, and it's supposed to stay around 6 to 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it says a lot about things that are going on here. So these guys, they're invasive, and they're eating all the seaweed, and they have something called a zombie stage, so they can just rest and wait for the seaweed to start growing again. They don't have to eat all the time. And then they will start to eat right away when the seaweed comes. So they're destroying all the seaweed, which is as kindergarten for the fish.
Yeah.
So when the seaweed disappears, the young ones of the fish, they're quite vulnerable, and they will be eaten by bigger predators. So it's causing a decrease of species.
For this one, like, in a lot of places, urchin is like a delicacy, like people eat them.
Yeah.
Are they like open season on the invasive species where like you can have as much as you want?
Yeah, so here in Tromsø you're actually allowed to smash them if you see
you
them.
can, yeah.
So to every kid that comes here, we're like, you got one thing to do this summer, smash them. Smash everyone you see.
Because when we're talking about the crab, they wanted to keep the crab around because they're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
good for business. But this one, you can smash them. Are
Yeah.
they good for eating too? Like,
It's the best one, they
Is it?
say. Yeah, but we don't eat them here in Norway.
you don't?
No, and it's not that easy to breed them because they're quite small.
Yeah, but there's so many here apparently.
But
should
they
it
don't
in, like,
have
local
enough food.
sushi shop.
So right now they don't have enough food, and we eat the gannets, and they're only producing that when they have enough food.
Oh, okay.
So that's causing a lot of problems now. So if you want to eat them, you need to fish them up, feed them, and then you can eat them.
Interesting. Because yeah, it's like orange innards of them, isn't it? Like,
So
or is it different? Urchin
It's something
I'm eating?
they use to reproduce.
Oh, it's part of that
Yeah.
process. Okay, so they don't have them until they're ready to reproduce.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they will only have them when it's enough food.
Yeah.
And right now the case is that they're eating all the seaweed, so it's not enough seaweed for them either.
Yeah.
So it says something about the amount that is up here right now. And some of my colleagues, they actually went out to smash some, and they smashed 700 during 20 minutes. So they
Wow.
come in like
Yeah.
carpet, so you can just
Yeah.
sit there and smash them.
Yeah.
So it causes a lot of problems up here. So this is the jellyfishes, and they're actually bred here.
Oh, they're bred here.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a species that is quite common here in Norway. Yeah. So in the region we call them glassmanet, which means glass jellyfish.
Yeah.
But in English it's called moon jellyfish. So these guys, we actually need 4 tanks to breed them because they have 4 different life cycles.
Yeah.
Stages in the life cycle. So they have the polyp stage when they look like the sea animals, just really, really small. And then they release the medusa, as this one is called. And then they release sperm and eggs
Yeah.
that will meet out in the water, and
Yeah.
they will create a little larva.
Yeah.
And then they will go back to the polyp stage and then further on.
So the first life form is more like solid.
Yeah.
Like?
So then they will
like
have asexual reproduction when they are in this stage.
Yeah.
And then they will have sexual reproduction when they're in this stage.
Are all or most jellyfish like that, or is this a specific thing to this?
So commonly that's the case.
Is it?
For the jellyfish, but some are quite cool. They actually have the capability to go back. So they will never die if they're not eaten.
Okay.
So they can go back to the polyp stage and then go back to the medusa stage and go back to the polyp
Do
stage.
they do that
and go
for
back
like
and forth.
reproduction purposes, or
So they
like,
can
why
do
would they
it-
do that?
They can do it to reproduce,
Yeah.
but most commonly they do it because, for example, for the polyp stage, they can eat different kinds of food
Yeah.
compared to what they can eat when they are in the medusa stage.
So
it
if the
depends on
food
the stress
source is
level.
reduced, they can
Yeah.
go to a stage where they can eat different. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So they can live forever.
Yeah.
And we actually do use the genes of those jellyfish to do some research on how to regain an arm for us humans. And they've come so far that they've actually been able to produce a human ear on a rat
Really? Based on jellyfish
using the genes.
genes.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's cool.
So that's also why it's so important to do research on the
Yeah.
animals, because it can be beneficial for us as well.
Yeah.
So maybe in a couple of years, or maybe 20 years, if you lose an arm, they will be able to actually regrow your arm.
Okay. Thanks to jellyfish and some very smart people.
Yeah, exactly. So we have almost the same species in this tank, but I want to talk about, you see the sea star in the back?
Yeah.
So it's called sun star, and it's actually having 10 arms.
Okay.
And normally we have the 5 arms. And what is really cool about these guys, you can actually cut them in half,
Yeah.
and then there will be 2 new sea stars.
Will they regrow their
Arms.
limb to
They will
10 again?
actually- Yeah, both
Yeah.
sides. With the sun star, but for the common one, you can only cut off an arm, but
Yeah.
it will regrow the arm. But
Yeah.
it will not be able to regrow a completely new body.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's really cool because they're also using the genes for these species with the same way with the jellyfish.
Okay.
So it's really important to do research on how different animals actually do behave.
Yeah.
And both with these guys and with the jellyfish, they don't have any heart, they don't have any brains, they don't have any muscles, they don't have any blood.
Interesting. Yeah.
And still they're alive and
Yeah.
quite adaptable compared to us. For example, they can regrow themselves. Yeah. So you use water for everything. And also with the sea stars, they're actually able to push out the stomach and shoot it into shells.
Okay.
And then it will digest everything in the shell outside of the body and then suck the stomach back in.
That's crazy. Okay. That's one way of eating.
Yeah. I don't
That's
recommend it, but
Jeez.
here we have a lobster. It's hiding in the cave, so it's quite hard to see.
Okay. Yeah.
And here we have some shark eggs.
Shark eggs.
Yeah, and it actually
Those are
take
the
them-
ones suspended, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it actually take them 15 months to hatch.
Yeah. And what type of shark are these?
What do you say?
What type of shark is this? Do
So
you know?
this is the spotted dog. So you find them there, and you also have them here. So they can grow to a size of 1 meter, but these guys are still babies.
Yeah.
And they're actually 3 years old.
These are 3?
Yeah,
Oh.
and they're still babies. But this one is the species I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
What type of fish do you think that is?
I feel like I don't know enough fish to even spitball on this one.
It's a quite common one here in Norway,
Is it?
and it's talked a lot about it.
Are they? Oh god. I just.
It starts with S.
Salmon?
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. But it's from a breeding facility, so
Okay.
it doesn't look like a salmon. It's not supposed to look like this.
Yeah.
It looks like 10,000 other species instead
Okay.
of actually salmon. But it just shows how huge of an impact breeding
Yeah.
stations do actually have on the species. And you can also see why it's so important to make sure that these guys won't be able to get loose and be freed out in nature, because they're causing a lot of problems. We have some salmon rivers here in Norway that do not longer have any salmon because of the breeding stations.
The breeding stations do that, or the salmon from the breeding station
So
being
it's
released into
both.
the night?
It's both. So the breeding stations, they have to move around
Yeah.
because they're causing a lot of toxicity. So
Yeah.
they're producing a lot of poop,
Yeah.
and it's quite harmful for the rest of the environment. And it's so toxic that they actually have to remove the breeding station
Yeah.
systematically to make sure that the fish in the breeding stations
Yeah.
won't die.
Yeah.
But it's also causing a lot of problems for the environment around those breeding stations. So the effects you have on this fish in the breeding stations, you also have it out in nature because of the breeding stations.
Yeah.
So it's both when these guys get loose and also because of the breeding station itself. Yeah. So it's also a huge debate here in Norway. Some people want to have it on land, and in my opinion, that's the best way if we're going to keep it that way.
Isolated from the environment.
Exactly, and then you'll be able to filtrate out all the toxicity, and you will be able to just do it in a better way.
Yeah.
So, and also they say that you will actually save a lot of money doing it on that and not in the ocean.
And then, can you repeat? So, if you took this fish, because it's different from the natural bred fish, what would this fish being released to the environment do? Like, the fish farming center is toxic to the rest of it, but if you said these fishes couldn't be reintroduced because
they're so different and they're causing a lot of problems, so they're actually destroying the natural population in Norway when they get loose. Yeah. Because these guys, they're bred to grow fast, they're bred to reproduce fast.
Yeah.
So you have all these things, and you can just look at them. It's not like salmon should be. So they're actually destroying the populations.
Yeah.
And then we have the red king crab.
This was the invasive one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now you will see that they're feeding on the shell of one.
So
this one has just shed.
Yeah.
And now they're just eating on it. And then we will remove the shell afterwards because you will have some leftovers. And they're quite hungry today.
So, because so they're like cannibalistic? They can eat their own? Yeah. But they wouldn't kill one to eat. They just, if they die, they do.
Yeah, they can.
It's like when food is scarce.
Yeah. So we make sure that with the fish also, but also with the crabs, we make sure that the size of the animals are compared to each other. So we don't have some really small ones with some really big ones, because then they will eat each other like they do out in nature.
Yeah.
So we're really careful with that. And also, if you have some injured animals, we remove them to a tank in the back, where they can just rest and come back to health.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we can head up to the seal pool.
Sorry, I didn't even see the bigger ones there.
Yeah, so these guys are small.
Yeah.
So they are between 1 to 3 kilos. But we had one that was 10 kilos earlier, but it took out the whole tank. So we had to move it. Yeah.
I've done that maneuver as well. No whiskers is crazy though. Like,
We're just going to clean up the pool and wait for the people to walk away, so it's not too many here, and then we'll take you in.
Okay.
So we get something to put on your shoes and some gloves.
Okay.
And then you're just going to think of them as dogs. Stay calm and sit down. And then I will show you how to give the eyes, and I will give the eyes. And I can take pictures with you.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
Sounds
can have
good.
both.
Yeah.
The scenes.
Like what's the ice part? You said.
So we give them the ice after the training each and every time.
Yeah.
And it's just to give them some extra fresh water. So out in the wild, they jump on ice lake to eat ice and snow to get some extra fresh water.
Oh, okay.
To simulate that, we do so with seals.
Yeah.
And they absolutely love it.
I was going to ask if they're as motivated by ice as they are with the fish.
Yeah, so if you have a fish bite or if you have some ice, they'll actually choose the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they really love the ice.
Okay.
Especially Bella, my son, but he's not used to that just yet. But hopefully he will at one time.
People are asking on the bucket, it was like the Japanese character than my son. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, so Bella and my son acquired a Svalbard when they were 2 months old to do some research. So that's why they're here, to do some research. So they actually published an article where they used Bella and my son a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So it's still being used in research. So the scientist actually caught my son. He was Japanese.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why.
the backstory.
So he gave the name to my son.
Yeah. Because I was like, why is there Japanese characters on the bucket? Like the name sounds Japanese, but okay. No.
So they actually, both of them, both Bella and my son, they actually jumped into the boat.
Oh really?
Into the net. Yeah, so they just lift them up.
Oh.
Yeah. Because the mother, they leave the pup when they're around 28 days.
Yeah.
So they have to defend for themselves after that.
And at that age, they're too young to do that, or sorry, that's the normal life cycle is 28 days.
Normal. Yeah. So they were living alone when they were caught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you have Vlad, and he's kind of a rescue seal.
Yeah.
He's from Vladivostok, so he was found there in bad health.
Yeah.
So the Russians gained him back to health, and they sent him to France.
Yeah.
Aquarium there. And they were shutting down the Arctic area over there.
Yeah.
they asked us if we wanted it free because they love how we treat the seals and how we view the animals. So our mentality is that we are here for the animals, not the other way around. So everything we do is for the animals, and that's also why we train them. It's not a show. So whatever the seals and the animals need, we will try to provide that. So that's why he's here. And then, of course, in Leo, he was born here by an accident.
Oh, by an accident?
There was some preventions that didn't work. So all of a sudden, we had a seal there.
Human life is like that as well. Prevention doesn't always work.
Because when a regional law, you're not able to release the animals.
I was going to ask if once these are in captivity, are they...
Then they have to be here by the regional law. And that's also why we don't want to breed them. Because then we will just breed seals into captivity. And that's not our goal.
What are seal contraceptives? As in, what is the measure that failed? Like, how are you trying to stop them from breeding? You know.
So we used, like, for example, with dogs. We used the same
just
things.
neuter. Okay.
So
wait, that didn't work?
No. So with the female, we used some hormones.
Hormonal birth control is not perfect.
It failed, and now the male instead is on birth control. So
neutered or birth control? Hormonal.
Birth control hormones.
Okay.
So you can't really put them in anesthesia because they can die.
Oh, okay.
So the seals have created a huge fat layer, and that fat layer will actually store medications. And all of a sudden, if you pump them with a lot, all of a sudden it all releases and they will die because they will get an overdose.
Does it get weird with the hormones too? Because it gets stored in the fat stores as well?
No, not in the same way.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the difference between it. So we use the same as you do with dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so far, it's worked out with the male, and unfortunately not with the female.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I hadn't even considered the thought of contraceptives for seals.
But you can also think of it like maybe it's time for the males to actually step in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish males had more options.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
So.
We got to step our game up, but we can't step our game up. We have like one option, two options.
So that's why. He's here, but he's really cute, and he was very welcome when he was first born.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because Lira, his mother, when she was pregnant with him, his father Luffen also gained weight at the same time.
Oh.
They were going like parallel, so we didn't know that Lira was pregnant before we saw that her stomach was actually moving.
You thought they were overeating a little bit?
No, she didn't do that as well.
But they're gaining weight. Oh, and they're just naturally gaining weight.
Yeah, so we thought it was just a natural case. But and then all of a sudden saw some movements in their stomach, and I was like, this is weird.
Are they pregnant, or there's like outbreak of like alien kind of thing, like where like grows in your stomach and then bursts out?
No, so they will give birth.
Well, I know.
But we were like wondering why is it moving?
Yeah.
And then we did some ultrasounds, and then we saw it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was very welcome, but it's not something we want.
So, but yeah, once it happens, it happens. So now you're along for the ride. Yeah. Very cool. I feel like painfully uneducated.
So here's something to put on the shoes.
Shoes, all right. Sandals and gloves. All right, let's do it. We got little shoe booties from because I'm wearing sandals though. Peak male fashion. Socks and sandals. I kind of wish I didn't have fur gloves so I could feel the texture of what a seal feels like. Touchscreen still works.
Welcome in.
Ooh, thank you.
It's slippery, just so you know. So be careful.
Okay. Try not. Will do.
We have a rule. Whenever you go between the seals and the water.
Okay.
If they get spooked, they will jump into the water.
And push me in with them.
Yeah. They
Has
will
anyone?
harm you,
but you'll get knocked in. Has anyone?
And it's 5 degrees, so.
Have you been knocked in before?
Not been knocked in, but I've been swimming with them and training in from the water.
Ooh, that's cool.
So it's a variation we do. So sometimes we see it in waves.
Oh my god.
This is Bella and my son.
Bella and Lyson?
My son.
My son. Oh, my son. We talked about my son. Wow.
So we can also train them from the water. And as you see, they really want the ice. So we can also train them from the water by being in the water with them.
Yeah.
But it's been the case that Bella has actually taken the trainer and held him and swum around with him. And been like, this is so cool, look at that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite cute. But they know not to like bring you underwater with them?
Yeah, no,
they're aware of that?
They're really friendly. So I've been lying almost on top of Bella while she was eating ice on the tunnel. And she's like, okay. As you see, they have the capability to eat by themselves, but they will wait for you to give them the ice.
Do they just prefer it that way, or they're just social creatures?
Especially my son prefer it that way,
Yeah.
and we think it's something about the interaction, but
Yeah.
also she will save a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Because she won't be able to eat it herself. She can just get a bunch right in her mouth. And we
quite
never
cute.
touch them after the training.
Yeah.
This is the free time for the seals.
Okay, yeah.
And none of the individuals we have now likes to be pet.
Yeah.
But we had some earlier that really loved it.
Yeah.
So then we could do so, but we will respect that they don't like it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. Am I able to try and feed them ice, or they like kind of munch on your hand if you try to?
So they won't, but we don't want to have any exits.
That's
So,
fair.
Yeah.
Because what do
that's
their
why.
teeth look like?
Yeah, so Bella, she only has 3 left,
Oh,
so it's quite hard.
oh yeah, yeah, I
But
saw
with my
them.
son,
There's a bit more in there. Yeah.
yeah, she has more.
Yeah.
But the case is that these guys do not use their teeth at all,
Yeah.
because they only use the teeth to catch the fish. Almost like snakes and crocodiles,
Oh,
only
okay.
use to catch,
Yeah.
and they will swallow whole.
So if you're not using them, they just kind of bodies eventually decide it's not used.
Yeah.
It's not needed.
That's also why we brush them.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that
Do you
they're
brush
okay.
their teeth?
Yeah.
That's
Once
cute.
a week we will try to
Yeah.
brush them.
Try to, as in they don't cooperate very well.
So it varies. Sometimes they don't like it, and then we would respect it.
Yeah.
Then we will just maybe take one and then finish off.
Yeah.
Because we want to always have a positive interaction with them.
Yeah.
So we don't want to really do things that they don't like.
Yeah.
But of course, some things we do need to do, but
Yeah.
then we'll just take baby steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like dog toothpaste that you use, or like
It's actually with fish paste.
fish?
Yeah.
Do you have to like make it yourself? Does someone actually make seal toothpaste?
Someone did actually make it. Yeah.
Big market for the seal toothpaste.
But they're quite different personalities. And Bella, she reminds me of my dog. She's a diva.
Yeah.
And if you don't do a lot of energetic things, she'll be like, I'm finished with this training. I hate you. I don't want to be a
okay.
part of this. Please let me go.
So you gotta hype her up.
Yeah, but sometimes
Yeah.
we need to keep it calm because it's the best for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have always very
Yeah.
energetic training with her. So they're not able to regulate themselves like
Mm-hmm.
dogs. They're not able to do so either.
Yeah.
And also with Bella,
Oh.
my boss, yeah, she's a bit impatient.
Yeah.
So with my boss, she really loves him, to train with him. And if any other seal trains with him and she doesn't, she will be angry at him an entire week.
Wow.
Yeah. Then she can just ignore him and be like, no, I'm not gonna deal with you.
It's cool to hear about their personalities and how different they can be.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people just see wildlife and assume it's like
Yeah.
they're all the same, kind of like a monoculture kind of thing.
And Bella, she also has a nickname. It's maybe a bit rude, but we call her the bully.
The bully.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. And it's just because when you're a new trainer,
Yeah.
she will try to steal the bucket. That's the one thing they're not allowed to do at all,
Yeah.
is to steal the bucket.
And she just feels that since they're new, like,
She knows.
yeah, that.
She knows that you do not know. And she will try. So she tried with me, luckily not been able to, but almost.
So no one's stolen your bucket before? Is that like a point of
Not yet.
pride at this facility?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
once you've got your bucket
the
taken, it's
biggest
just
thing.
like you're lower on the food chain.
Been able to do here. And my son is just really patient and really calm. So you need to be aware around
Yeah.
Bella when you're training.
Will they like eventually tap out from ice, or will they just keep eating and eating and eating? Like, do their bodies just know when they're like, yeah, it's enough fresh water?
We're not sure because we give them around 20 kilos of ice each day and they
Jeez.
keep eating it. Yeah.
So they never give up on the whole ice eating.
Doesn't seem
It's
like
just you run out of ice and that's when it stops.
Yeah.
Oh.
And as you see, they are not able to walk on land. It's because these guys are true seals, as we call them.
Yeah.
So the true seals, they're not able to walk on land. They either have to roll over or jump on the stomach.
Yeah.
And if you look at the side of their head,
Yeah.
they have holes. And it's actually ears.
Yeah.
But they don't have any ear flips like we do. And for the sea lions, they can actually walk on land, and they
Yeah.
also have the ear flips that we do. And they also live in family groups, and that's also why they're quite a bit more aggressive. So these guys are not aggressive at all.
Yeah.
And it's just because they're living alone, so they don't have to protect the family.
Okay.
It's different species of true seals and also by sea lions. And then you have one more family group, and it's the whales.
Yeah. And you said there's 2 different types of seals in this facility, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the bearded seal.
Yeah.
In Norwegian we call them storkobbe, which means big seal. And then you have a small one swimming around somewhere.
Yeah,
right
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a harbor seal.
And they interact well together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some
So-
species, they once you cross,
Yeah.
they don't
So
get along.
Bella, she's almost like an aunt
Yeah.
for Leo. And it seems like she hates it sometimes because it can be a lot. But he absolutely loves her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you'll often find if Bella is in the window, then you will often find Leo pressing underneath her and getting smashed in the window because she's like, oh fuck you, go away.
Do they flex their size around her as well? Like, because they're just so huge, they could bully.
Yeah, but they're not actually doing so.
They don't.
No.
Oh.
Sometimes you can even see, because the parents, Leo, were in the same pool earlier, so you can sometimes see that Luff and his father was actually riding Bella. In the
Oh, really?
pool. Yeah. So he just grabbed onto her and then Bella swam around.
Like, does the parental, because you said they only stay with their parents for 28 days in the wild, right?
Yeah, the bearded seals.
But then here, it's permanent captivity, so there is no, like, leaving your parents. So is there, like, still some kind of dynamic that seems like parental, or is it they're just kind of independent?
For Leo,
Yeah.
so his mom, the harbor seals, they leave the pup after 1 to 2 months.
Yeah.
So the case with them was that Lyra was just finished off with him, didn't want to deal with him anymore.
Yeah.
So she got quite frustrated. And we were able then to make sure that she didn't have to deal with him during the trainings.
Yeah.
We will always make sure that they were separated. And then after some time, she was like, okay, you're just another seal. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, okay.
But there was a time period where she was really frustrated with him. So then we just made sure that he was active with something else away from her. So that she didn't have to deal with him as much. But he often plays around with his dad.
Yeah.
But we don't think like it's a father and son relationship.
It's just
more like
social.
friendship.
Yeah. Okay. Now I was curious because, like you said, in the wild, they'd just be separate after a month or so. But here, they can't be separate.
No.
Yeah.
So with the harbor seals, you can actually find them out also in nature, playing around with each other. But they will hunt alone and they will kind of live alone.
Yeah.
But they can gather up and just play around.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whales you were talking about before. They're pretty independent, but they come together and can be quite social.
Yeah. So you have Leo there now?
Ooh.
Looking at us and being like, what are you doing?
Do you often have, like, guests here in this zone, or is this a bit outside the norm?
Earlier we had Nice to Meet You with the guests.
Yeah.
But right now we had to close that because of Vlad. So we needed to give him some time and space to get to know us.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then we're going to have it closed till we get a new area.
Yeah.
And then we're going to open up for that again.
Okay.
But we were supposed to open in January.
Oh.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Still. So hopefully during the summer we'll be able to move them.
Okay.
To the new one.
Sometime this summer, the whole other part will be open.
So we were supposed to open up in January and have this opening celebration now in June, but we haven't still been able to go.
Still no fixed date, just whenever it's done.
Yeah. So they said to us April, and then they say May, and then they say June.
That's classic construction.
Still
their estimated date for completion is very much an estimation, and they usually go over.
And also because of Corona, we had some.
Wait, when did this start? When did the expansion start?
Before I started. Long before I started.
But you said because of Corona, which means like this was being developed like
so
2020, 21, like
I
in
think
that era.
Around that time.
It's a long-term expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see it when it's open because it's already a cool space. But 2 more seal pools, and then I assume a ton of other like you saw some of the interactive spaces that you can't go to yet, but they're there.
Yeah. So we're gonna have the new seal area, 3 pools, and this one will be closed off, and then the pool, the old pool, will be in 2 separate tanks for fish, and then this area will be an expansion of the exhibition downstairs.
Oh, okay.
So up here it will be more like how the scientists work, and then it will have the science downstairs.
Okay, yeah.
So it would be pretty cool when it's finished.
Yeah, I'll have to come back. I do come up to Norway seemingly every few years, so maybe I'll try and come back and see the finished expansion.
Then you have because then we will have a tunnel for the fish, so you can
cool.
walk past and see the fish underneath, and we also have a big seal tunnel.
To get between the 3 different pools?
No, so we will be in the middle approximately, the biggest one.
Yeah.
But you can go outside to see the seals in the outside pool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So there will actually be a hatch, so those seals can just jump in between the pools.
Cool. And then, since it's a lot bigger, are you getting like a bunch of new staff and stuff like that to facilitate, or is it still, even though it's bigger, you don't need that much more people?
We are not sure yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still a question.
Yeah, it's still a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I really appreciate you. Giving me the very guided tour. I didn't know what I was signing up for,
No.
but I was talking to my chat and I was saying how I'm uncomfortable with how little I actually know about marine wildlife. And I'm from an island, and it's a big part of where I grew up. But it's one of the things I've traveled for like 10 years, and I always look for everything else rather than what I had at home, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a common thing with traveling, but
it's quite common.
Yeah, you're telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, we have a similar ecosystem at home, and why don't I know any of this?
But I'm from the south of Norway.
Yeah.
From the inlands, and people are like, "Why are you moving up there?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why do you not move to Australia or something?" And I'm like, because you haven't seen the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful up here.
Yeah.
And it's so much we do not know, and it's so important. So we have a saying here in Norway, we're like, but Norway is such a small country, what can we do with the environment and everything? And then I'm like, do you really know how important this ecosystem is for the rest of the world? We can do quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it will have a huge impact on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So we can head out actually to the new area if you want to.
The new area?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Oh, that's cool.
So this is the biggest pool.
That's cool.
So it's going to be pretty big.
And it's neat to see it before it's actually filled. That's unique. Huh. Cool.
So it's quite special.
Yeah.
So here you'll be able to actually book things. So we can have an event here, and then we can actually have a restaurant right in front of the seal pool. When people book it.
On this side or the other side?
On this side, so you'll be able to actually eat and watch the seals.
That's cool.
This is the tunnel I was talking about.
T-Mac19 just subscribed with Twitch Prime.
Will the restaurant ever loop in through here? That would be an interesting place to eat.
Yeah. So this is actually one piece of glass.
And it's glass, not like acrylic or what
No, it's glass.
It's glass. Oh, acrylic's not the right word, but yeah. I feel like that must cost a lot to have someone manufacture one piece of curved glass like that.
I'm quite happy it's not mine though.
Do you know how thick the glass is? Because it needs to be pretty strong. Like,
I'm not sure.
hold up water.
They tested it just to make sure that it will actually handle the pressure.
Yeah.
This will be the new area where people can sit.
Oh.
And we're also going to have more education options.
Yeah.
So up there will actually be a classroom.
Oh, cool.
So we will provide some knowledge for the schools.
People
can just book it.
Yeah.
And we will be able to do events like that.
And then the outdoor pool's out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Saw the seating, I think.
And in there we will have the pool that is closed off for any guests.
This is a huge expansion because just like the seal exhibit, like the amount of space for guests to be able to see, and then it's all just one level, so everyone's like doing the whole peeking over. This is like,
And here we will also have a rule that you're not able to stand here.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that people can actually see.
Yeah.
And then we will have an area for wheelchairs, and also if people want to, they can stand up there watching the training. We're also going to have a big, tiny waterfall. Yeah. Sometimes we have waterfall feedings, and they really love it. So then we'll just throw out fish bites in the waterfall.
Oh, cool.
So it would be pretty interesting.
It looks close to being complete.
Yeah. They just have to make sure that it's waterproof.
Oh, that's important.
Idea.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think it would be like 180,000 liters of water passing through every hour in the pool. So it's quite important.
Yeah.
So with the old one, we have 65,000 liters passing through every hour. And we're actually pumping it in. I'm just gonna see if I can get in here. This will be the outdoor pool.
Yeah.
And you see the square in the formations over there?
Sorry, where are we looking?
You see the square in the formation?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Over there?
Yeah.
So it's actually a hatch. So the seals can just swim through downstairs in the water and jump up, and then they can jump into the water here.
Oh, cool.
So we do so just to make sure that we also can empty one pool to clean it, and then we don't have to make sure the seals are in the water. Because right now, we have to make sure that all the seals are in the water, and then we empty it, and then we clean it, and then we fill it again. But now we can just move the seals between the pools.
I'm really curious how the seals will like feel when you open up all the space to them, because like they're going from one smaller space to like having so much room for activities.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's an exciting time to be one of the seals here.
And also we are not sure whether or not they will actually like to be outdoor.
That'd be interesting if they just never use it. They just never go out there.
We're not sure, but it will be an exciting period.
Yeah.
Both trainers and animals.
Because the space we're at is kind of their whole world right now.
Yeah.
And this is expanding it several times over.
And for Bella and my son, they're actually the oldest bearded seals in captivity ever recorded.
Really?
Yeah. So for them it will be like a completely new experience because they've been here for 22 years.
Jeez. Will this always be like a dining space, or it'll change depending on what's going on?
So I don't think they've made up their minds yet.
Yeah.
But they'll be talking about having some posters with information, and then just when it's events, then they will make it to a restaurant.
Yeah, okay. And the rest of the time, there'll just be like some exhibits, and then you can see the seals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. How long do these seals live in the wild, usually?
For the bearded seals, they can reach up to an age of 30.
Oh, wow, okay.
And for the harbor seals, they can reach up to 35.
Yeah.
But the case with the harbor seals, so the oldest one, and it's still alive, is actually 52.
Oh.
In an aquarium.
In an aquarium, okay.
Yeah.
But,
so normally animals do live longer in captivity than do out in the wild.
Yeah.
But for the bearded seals, that hasn't been the case.
I was going to ask about that, because like, why do they live?
Between 10 to 13 years.
Interesting.
So
do they speculate why? Just like...
Some people have a theory that it's because of kidney diseases, because they haven't got enough fresh water.
Oh, okay.
Because we are the first aquarium to give them bearded seals some ice. And we also have the oldest one, with 22, so maybe that's the case.
Yeah.
But we also think that it's a combination of that and also how we treat the animals and how we do the training.
Yeah.
So here animals can actually tell us, no, I don't want to do this, and they will still be fed and have a great time, they will just do something else.
Okay.
But other aquariums, they might be like, okay, then you're not going to have anything. Then we're done.
Because I was going to say, if you have the oldest captive seals here, that's a good sign of how you're treating them. That exists in the first place.
Yeah, so it's really important for us.
Yeah.
Also, when you apply for a job here, they do also look at your education. It's most important for them to see your personality.
Yeah.
And also, you're not allowed to just jump in and start training the animals. They will just see how you interact with them.
Yeah.
And then they will decide whether or not to make you a trainer or not.
Yeah.
So I started here as something we call a host. So I was just walking around, talking to people and doing the seal presentation.
Yeah.
And then I just had some interaction with the seals, like giving the ice and stuff. And then the main trainer was like, okay, you're going to be a trainer.
Okay. That's cool.
So it's pretty cool that you actually do have an opportunity.
And out of curiosity, do you naturally have more of an interest in like education and presenting like this, or more on the research side out in the field? Can you do both in this? Like, is there room for that?
You can. So hopefully, if I'm able to, I will become a scientist. I'll do a doctorate degree, and then I will still be able to be here during the weekends. Because right now I'm mostly here during the weekends. But in the summertime, also doing the weekdays. But hopefully I'll be able to do both.
Cool. Okay. No, I was just curious on what direction you wanted to take with this, because you clearly have the passion for it, but it feels like very different directions of like science and research versus education and.
Yeah, but I think like if I can be a scientist and also tell people about the things that I'm doing.
No, I think
it's
that
actually
would.
a shift now in the science world. So people are more now interested in giving the information out to the public, and earlier they were more like, this is mine. This is my research. I'm writing in a language that nobody else understands, just a scientist. And now we're like more like, okay, we're going to write it so people can actually read it and understand. So it's a shift. And hopefully I will be able to combine those two.
Okay, because naturally through school you're learning it from the academic side, but that doesn't translate very well to this. Because everyone here, most people here, are like myself, not very educated. So you have to dumb it down in a way that we can like actually digest and learn to actually understand what's happening. Out there.
I had a subject this year about ecology. Yeah. And the professors there were like, it's really important to make it so simple and easy so people can understand. Because we have something called the change blindness. Yeah. So we have changes that is going on, but our generation do not see it because we're not used to it. Yeah. For example, with the birds, my generation will probably say that it's a lot of birds. Yeah. If I talk to my grandpa, he will probably say it's quite few birds right now. And it's just because it's a change
they grew up with.
blindness. Yeah. We don't see the change that is going on because this is what I grew up with and this is what he is used to. And it's causing a lot of problems because if you're going to restore the nature, which generation are you going to follow? Mine or my grandpa's?
Because soon enough our generation will be running things, and if we grew up being like, it's already always been like this.
Yeah, it's 10,000 birds. Yeah. It's still 10,000 birds, that's good. Yeah. And maybe it should be at 100,000. Yeah. So they were like really like putting it onto us that you need to make it simple so people can understand. Yeah. You need to have the knowledge to be able to explain things and do the research, but you also need to be able to make it simple.
This center is great for training that, I think, because like I assume do you do more like this, like actually like helping people and like walking through this space, or more on the SEAL training side?
Both.
When you're both,
and
pretty equal, like all over the place. Yeah.
So you can book guiding here at I think it was 1:30. You can book. Yeah. And then we'll do a guided tour. Yeah. And that's also one of our tasks. Okay. So this training, we're just shifting with doing the speech. Yeah. And this training it was me, but we're gonna also have a training 2:30. Okay. And then I will probably be one of those training the animals. Okay. Yeah. So we're making sure that we shift it up so we don't get tired of anything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. You don't just have one role. Yeah. So we also have a lot of cleaning jobs, feeding the animals. And we just shift it up, switch it up. Because
like I've been to a few aquariums, stuff like that, but like to me it's interesting like what a day in the life of someone working at a place like this is, because I don't know, it's unique compared to many jobs out there.
And for me and most of my colleagues, the only reason that we are here is to give out the information and also with how Polaria thinks about animals. Yeah. So I would never work at another zoo, probably. It has to be in the way that Polaria is working, with the mentality, with the animals, and also the fact that we're trying to educate people. Yeah.
Do you think there's other places that do it to that level where you'd enjoy it, or maybe you don't know?
So I've been to Denmark in the Løveparken. Yeah, the lion park, or what they call it in English, I'm not sure. But where they have this area where you actually drive into the enclosure and you visit the animals, so the animals can choose themselves. Okay. So I think that is more the way we should go, as well with the way we do it
This
here.
is what they're doing here, right? Because there was one pool where people won't be, or guests won't be able to see them, right? Yeah.
And then the seals can just go there and relax if they want to.
It's a very different thing, but there's like cat cafes, and the ethically run ones have a separate room where the cats can be as independent as they want and only come out when they want to be social. Yeah.
And also, right now, is a new law in England going on that says that all the zoos have to do it more like we do. They have to be educated. They are not allowed to just have some audience and be like put on a show and everything like that. They're going to educate people. So it's called the modern zoo, and it's actually coming in now, a law in England. So they're going to have more areas, bigger areas for the animals. You have to educate people, and you also have to make sure that you protect endangered species or do some research on them.
Because like aquariums have a fairly bad reputation worldwide because of a few places that have been very
I really hope that law will be an international law. So they call it the modern zoo, and I think by 2027 all zoos and aquariums in England have to come and meet those goals by the new law in England.
And then at that point, once they're meeting those laws, like you'd feel comfortable working in a place like that because they actually treat animals how they should be.
They have good animal welfare, and they also have focus on educating people. Yeah. It's not like, oh, look at this fish, oh, so beautiful. It's more like, okay, this fish, this does this is important because of, and then they will tell the story around the animal. Yeah. So I think that is really important because that's how people care about the animals and also see the importance of things. Because right now a lot of people are like, yeah, but why does it matter that this species disappears?
Yeah.
And then you will actually be able to say it's important to have this species because, and then you can see that everything's are connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I find it really interesting that they're actually putting that into law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's yeah. I hadn't heard of that because I'd been only as a kid to like amusement parks that had like the entertainment aquarium kind of thing, and like when you're a kid, you love that, but you don't understand what that means.
I was that stupid, annoying little kid saying, "No, I'm not going to any zoos."
That was
me.
You already knew at that age that it was just like, no, this isn't right.
Yeah, I've always been so interested in animals and welfare.
Oh, so this has been a lifelong passion then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You're living it then.
Yeah. And also when I finally got my dog, I was like, okay, now I know more about how to train animals and how their needs can actually be read.
Yeah.
And then you see all these zoos not doing so, and you can see it so easily on the animals. For example, elephants standing there just nodding with their head is not a good sign.
What is that? That's like anxiety or like...
So it's something the elephants do to make sure that they won't become insane and attack people. So an elephant nodding with their head is something they do like we can do if we have anxiety. We might just start to do things like this. Yeah. So it's just a way to calm themselves down and not go insane. Yeah. So it's not a good sign. And also if you see like patterns in enclosures, with, for example, tigers, you see this trail going on, it's not a good thing. Then the animal is unstimulated. It needs to have some stimulation to do something.
So all this training and stuff like that, it's not just for the show, that keeps them stimulated like mentally, so they feel like their mind's occupied and they're actually doing something with their time?
Sometimes we have people asking, why are you just giving them the fish? It's not a show. And we're like, no, exactly, it's not a show. It's for the animals. And right now the seals need us to just hand feed them. They don't need to train or do anything. So everything we do is for the seals, and we're just welcoming people to come and watch. So if you're training the seals with some new exercises, then people can watch and see that happening. We're not doing separate trainers. We're just training on that during the training.
And all the kind of calls and stuff like that is just a good way to keep their mind like stimulated.
So we have some energetic exercises, like you saw with the jumps. So they have to use all their body to make the jump. So they will release a lot of energy. And we also have some mentalist exercises. We can use symbols in the bucket. We can just put it around the pool and tell them to go there. And it will be all kinds of symbols, and they have to recognize their own.
Okay, so they know their own bucket. Yeah.
And then we also have the veterinarian exercises, just to make sure that it won't be a stressful experience if you have a visitation from a veterinarian.
Okay, so you simulate a veterinary kind of experience without actually doing one, because it's not needed at that point. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So it's those three different ones.
Cool.
Depending on what the seals need. And sometimes we want just put out some fish in the water, and not the live ones, it's not allowed. And also it's a lot of sickness and diseases with live fish.
Okay, like so parasites, like in the same way sushi has to be flash frozen so that, okay.
So to just make sure that it's less possibility that we'll get sick, we use frozen fish.
Do they have any preference to that? I guess they wouldn't know any different if they've only lived in captivity.
They have. So if it's too frozen, they won't eat it.
Okay.
If it's too like wobbly, they won't eat it. So it has to be
the right consistency.
Yeah.
And I guess like because they're in captivity, they know they're going to get fed, so they have the opportunity to be picky. Out in the wild, like you kind of have to fend for yourself. Like you have to get what you can get.
Yeah,
but here,
exactly. But it kind of doesn't make sense, because when it's not frozen at all,
you think that would be.
You should think that maybe they will eat it.
But they want a little bit frozen? Well, they seem to love ice anyway, but they don't want it fully frozen.
No.
Okay. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Interesting. Like, at that middle point, does it flop at all, or is it still rigid, just not like...
So it's rigid still.
Okay.
Yeah. But it doesn't make sense, because you should think that maybe they like it a bit more warm.
That's
a live fish
based on, how nature would work, but they've developed their own taste. And that's all of them are the same?
Yeah. So also the harbor seals, they're a bit more picky than the bearded seals. Yeah. So it's even harder to feed them. Sometimes we have to cut it all again, because they're like, nope, not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff I hadn't considered.
Yeah.
No, I would have definitely thought soft and floppy is the way to go.
Yeah.
No.
Things you don't think about. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Okay. Is there anything else to
So I recommend going around and just see and have a look on the screens.
Yeah.
So you can actually learn a lot. And we also have some activities on the screens.
Yeah.
So you can just try them off.
Yeah.
And then just look at the animals. I really recommend that. We have some pretty interesting animals that is not that easy to see. If you look in here,
you can spot a bunch of
alive animals.
Yeah.
For example, these guys in the middle here, they're actually quite like us. They have actually intestines and everything, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
So they're one of the more advanced animals.
Okay. Very cool.
And all of these animals are near Tromsø.
Yeah.
Even the colorful ones, people are like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, we do have sea animals that are blue, purple, pinkish.
Okay. So everything's here, but some of them are invasive here. But all the animals you have here are, you can be found in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to show off the invasive species just so people can also learn about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that comes to Norway thinks that the red king crab, for example, is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And they just see this huge, amazing, cool crab. And then we're like, hey, they're destroying everything here.
Did they have the native crab here as well, or just the invasive crab? Because there's, what was the other crab?
You were thinking about the snow crab?
Yeah.
We don't have it right now.
Yeah.
But we have some other crab species.
Yeah.
So, for example, the ornament crab on the shore, we find it there. So they actually put algae on their back to camouflage, and that's also why they're called ornament crabs, because they're decorating the shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we also have the ornament crab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, I'll have a little walk around, but I really appreciate the tour. That was awesome. That was actually a lot of fun for me.
That's good. And we also have training at 2:30.
Training at 2:30. Okay.
Yeah.
Another hour. Okay. And was there a cafe here, I think, on the side?
So you can buy things in the reception area, and then you can go upstairs, and you can eat upstairs.
Okay. Is it, because I haven't really eaten today, is it possible to, like, eat and then come back in if I want to?
Yeah,
okay.
As long as you just tell them,
Yeah.
and then they will let you in.
Okay, cool. Because, I'm hungry.
Yeah. And then you will probably see me or one of my colleagues.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, just ask.
Okay, no, I really appreciate it. That was very cool. And I don't know, I feel happy for you. You're doing
Yeah, I really love it.
something that it seems like you are supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been your whole life. All right, which way am I to get out of
So
here?
if you want to get out,
Yeah.
just walk here.
I'm just going to the cafe. The cafe there. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
See ya. All right. But that was really cool. Also, very cool that they let me tour the expansion before it's open to the public. I respect it. It makes so much sense that these seals don't actually particularly like being pet. So they specifically are just like, well, if they don't like it, then we're not going to expose them to that. That is the most reasonable thing in the world. That is an amazing rule to have. But I was really curious what it'd feel like to pet a seal. The child in me is just like, no. But the adult in me is just like, I respect the seal's choice to not be pet by random strangers. So yeah, respect to Polaria for that.
Come along with me as I explore this frosty world and meet some flippered friends.
Flippered friends.
Let's dive in.
All right, Tanya, you got that? That was my take.
Today I'm at Polaria, an Arctic experience center that connects research, nature, and people. Come along.
Hey everyone, today we're at Polaria. We're gonna learn some stuff. Is that good?